The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Well, we're thrilled, first and foremost. As you see the trend that's happening over the next few weeks, we will be interviewing all of the winners from our Celebrate Business Awards, and the Lufkin Daily News was the Medium Business of the Year last year, so congratulations.
We're very, very proud of that.
Absolutely. Well, we were honored to give it to y'all. Let's just reintroduce yourself. I know you've been on before, to the listeners, and a little bit about Lufkin Daily, and then we'll get to going.
Okay. My name is Greg Weatherbee. I came to work in Lufkin in April of 2023, so we're coming up on 2 years. We actually finally we moved from Longview, got the house sold and all that stuff, and got here. Halloween was a year ago, so
Yeah.
we're about a year and a half in, which is crazy. It's
It
gone
is
so
crazy.
fast.
It's gone fast.
But the Lufkin Daily News, when they came calling, you've talked to my wife, and she was like, "Wait a minute, no, I don't want to leave. I love Longview." She was getting ready to open a business there, and it just happened at the right time. So, once she got here, we both fallen in love with the with Lufkin, the community, the chamber, everything. And she's actually opened that business here, which has taken off and doing really well. So, we're very fortunate to be here, and love Lufkin, love the Daily News, love all the good things we've got happening there, and you've been a big part of that, and the Lufkin Daily News and the chamber kind of rekindling
Been great.
a relationship, and that was one of the key things I wanted to do when I got here. Was I'd heard a lot about the Lufkin Chamber. Your reputation precedes you, but when I got here, it was all true and more. So happy to do that, and very, very honored to be named Medium Business of the Year. That was just to be. I know it's cliche, but just to be mentioned was very cool. To hear our name called that night was unreal. It was awesome.
That's great. I say it. I love reading your articles in the paper, and I said it to Brent not long ago. I was like, Greg Weatherbee is the best thing that ever happened to the Lufkin Daily News.
Agreed.
It's the truth. And I've known some incredible people that have been there and have run the paper that I truly count as dear friends. I mean, Greg Schrader being one of them.
He's awesome.
I love Greg Schrader. You're the best thing that's ever happened to that name.
Well, I appreciate that, and I've got some big shoes to fill. The shoes of Joe Murray. Joe Murray, I think would probably take that number one spot, but I'll gladly take
too
number
young
two.
to know that. So.
Well, I just know him by reputation. And when I moved here, that's one of the things I wanted to do was meet Joe Murray. The guy responsible, in part, for the Pulitzer Prize that came to the Lufkin Daily News. And unfortunately, Joe passed before I got a chance to meet him. He was already having some health issues, so that's a huge regret for me. I wanted to shake his hand and say, I am very honored to sit in the same position that a man like Joe sat in. So
that's
awesome.
Great. That's great. So 2 years, happy, great decision about being here. Sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, we love it. We love it.
You both have just gotten plugged in.
And it happened fast.
Yeah.
And I've moved around a lot with my job. And I was in the military before that, so I can live anywhere, But bringing a family here, and all the great things that have happened personally, business wise with the paper. The paper is, I think, on better footing than it's been in a while. We've repaired some relationships, and that's not a slight against any of my predecessors. Sure. I think it's something that happened over time that. It needed somebody to come in and take that, and I prepared the road. My folks kind of took off from there, and we've got a better relationship with the city, with the chamber, with the community as a whole, I think. So that was a big part of what we wanted to do when I came here.
That's great.
There's a noticeable difference. I see it all the time, and one that I want to ask you about. Am I seeing a lot more like high school sports than we used to? I didn't know if that was just me not noticing it. It feels like there's a lot more coverage of the sports than there used to be.
And that's in my mind, that's one of the huge things that a community newspaper has to offer. That
absolutely.
nobody else is. You're not going to go. You're not going to go find who scored the winning touchdown for the Lufkin Panthers on. Where we were trying to be something we weren't,
Mhm.
and my goal was, hey, the people want to read about the local sports. They want to read about what's happening in town. Another thing that we've changed, and it's always kind of been it wasn't really fair. People say, "Oh, all you report on is bad news." Okay, well, if there's a robbery, a murder, some big news event, we've got to cover that.
That's right.
Mhm.
If we don't, what are we here for?
Right.
Those things happen. We're gonna report on those things. We're gonna talk about those things. What I've tried to do, and what I think Josh Havard, our new, or I say he's new, he's over a year in his position too now. So one of the things that we've been talking about is let's do more good things.
Yeah.
About the community. Let's do some uplifting things about. There's bad news and there's ugly stuff that happens every day that we're gonna have to talk about, that we're gonna have to report on. Let's also focus on some of the good.
Yeah.
And so I'm very proud of what Josh and Stacy in our newsroom have been able to do in regards to those problems.
It's good to celebrate the wins.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's, I think a newspaper, it's the heartbeat of the community. I'm a little biased, but I think it's the heart of the community. It's where the community goes to find out what's happening. And that doesn't need to always be bad. It can be, who won the beauty contest, the nice things that happen in this town that may not get reported otherwise. So
That's right.
I love that you have the balance of that, because you do have to report on those things.
Sure.
I mean, and I think and we may have talked about this about the last time you were on, but the small town journalism is extremely important for holding government accountable, local
Absolutely.
government accountable, and you have to have those things, but you do have to have a balance, right? Because I think we're all kind of getting slapped in the face with difficult to read news a lot of the times.
we do, and everything that we do, and it's been our mantra. It's our corporate mantra. Is everything we do is to support community journalism,
Mhm.
and that's important. I'm working on a column right now. I may give it away too soon, but the column for this weekend is going to be about the value of truth, and does it have value anymore? And it's you've got so much, as you're talking about, that's coming out on the national news, and you've got other outlets that are frankly parading as news agencies, so they're
Right.
basically entertainment, and so that kind of dilutes, because there's so much out there.
Yeah.
There's so much out there. So we try to just we stay in our own lane. We report on Lufkin. We've gotten some things. Well, you're too liberal because you don't report good things about the current administration, or you're too conservative because all you do is talk about the current administration. And you hear that about the same story, and I'm like, okay, that we hit the sweet spot.
Right.
If we've made both ends of the spectrum uncomfortable, then we're probably where we need to be.
That's a good
That's
point.
right. I love that. That's a great way to look at it.
It is. And I like what you said about the sports, because I had never thought about that. Like, if I want to know how the Lufkin Panthers did this weekend, I'm not going to, like you said, the New York Times to look at that. Like, I've got to go to you for it, or social media, which sports on social media is so difficult. Like, if you're a sports fan, I can't tell you how many times, thanks to the algorithms, if you're not watching the video version of that, I praise them. Like, there's some kind of thing, but if you're catching it at a weird time because of these, like, I might see a post about an event that was 3 days ago, on a sports social media. It's like, well, it'd been nice to watch that. I wish I would have seen that, 3 days ago. But we have to go to you for that, and I think that's a cool part.
Well-
and I noticed it, like, as I was scrolling through and the news, I was like, man, it feels like there's a lot more local sports on here. I think that's great. I love the audio.
Well, and Edwin Quarles is our sports editor. Josh Havard was our sports editor. He moved into the editor's chair, and when we got a chance, when Edwin decided to come back and join us, we jumped at that chance. He's an excellent source of sports, great writer, just a solid guy. So we're very proud of our editorial department, our sports department,
Right.
and our news department. We kind of shuffled some folks around and rebuilt that, and I think it's fantastic. I think the content we produce, our opinion page, I think is outstanding, especially for a paper this
It's
size.
spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
So what's new for the paper? What's coming up?
Well, we've got a podcast. If I may mention on a podcast,
Absolutely.
Yes.
we did a story. I don't want to give it away, but we did a story on an individual who fell from grace. And if you're kept up with the local news, you probably understand who I'm talking about. He's ended up in prison and recently got convicted of some other stuff. And when I read that story, I thought, man, this story is so deep and so wide. There's so much here.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain it in a news article. And so I was thinking, do we do a series of articles? And then Lance Kingery, who's one of our designers and designs Charm magazine also. It was unreal. He came to me like the next day and he said, I read that story, and he said, let's do a podcast. We can do a podcast, make it 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And 6 30-minute episodes. And I was like, and maybe we'll be able to fit this whole story in there.
Yeah.
And so it sounded like a great idea. And then we thought, okay, we got to get equipment together. We got to do the interviews. Who's going to do the voices? I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
And you guys know all the stuff that goes into it. And we don't have all this.
Right.
So we
You
kind
don't
of
have to have all this.
No. And that's what we started with.
Have Blake.
Yeah.
And so we started small. We've got the first couple of interviews done. Those are in editing right now. So we're hoping early March, we're going to have a podcast that will, hopefully our plan is to do one every quarter.
Okay.
And it's what we're looking at called, I'll go ahead and preview. It's called The Shady Side of the Piney Woods.
Oh,
and so it's kind of a true
crime style
thing. And so there's a lot of stuff here that's happened over the years that, we're going to look at some unsolved murders, some unsolved crimes, some other stuff, and kind of dig stuff up. And it's just another way to engage with our audience.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's exciting.
I have told every single person I've ever met from Lufkin Daily, he's like, you guys have to have a podcast. And I'm so excited.
we're
that y'all are doing that.
we're over the moon about it. It's going to be great.
That's going to be incredible because there's some cool stories to be told.
There's some cool stories to be told by some cool people. And I mean, this town has got some characters and some real rich, culture and history that I can't wait to get into some of the other things that we're going to be doing. And so, that's coming up soon, probably in a couple of weeks. So we're very excited about that.
That's
awesome.
super exciting. Well, you heard it here first.
There you go. Bye.
Thank you for sharing
This
that.
is a good place to announce. I mean, a lot of local people here are listening to this podcast. And if you listen to a podcast, you're more likely to listen to another one. So
There you go.
that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, super cool.
So, we've hit on it a little bit, but just the newspaper importance to the community. I mean, the fact that you tell the facts. Not everybody has to agree with it, but, I love the fact that you give the people the facts and then they can go out and form their own opinions
And
about what's out there.
And that's the news media's job.
Yeah.
That's the newspaper's job. When the founding fathers penned that First Amendment, there was no social media, there was no TV, no radio.
I wish we could go back to that.
There was Ben Franklin and his little printing press and a newspaper, and so the way the Constitution is written, the way the First Amendment is written, it's a living document that grows and lives and breathes as we go. And so it took in TV and radio and all the other things as media. But I think it's important to remember that when we first started out, what that first, the free press, that was about newspapers. And I find it, I take it very personally, and to make sure that despite all the noise and all the clutter that's surrounding the news world these days, that we do what we do. We keep the people informed. We tell you the facts, and it's up to you to take them, like you said, and make of that what you will. I got a letter recently, and basically saying that we were pulling punches because of money. That we didn't want to. We had the powers that be were telling us not to print this or not to talk about that, and I fired back a pretty fiery, strong-worded email. What you've done. I don't know if you meant to do this, but what you've done is you've insulted our credibility. You've insulted our integrity. And I'm not, as the leader of this organization, I'm not going to stand for you putting down my newsroom and talking about something that's absolutely not true. Trust me, we've gone toe to toe with some some businesses in town because we had to print some stuff, and they didn't want it printed. And I get why they didn't want it printed, but the truth of the matter is, it happened. It's the truth,
The facts.
and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold an important story to appease an advertiser, and ultimately our content is what we sell, and
Yeah.
it's what we're about. So, yeah.
Well, we appreciate the facts being told, so that everybody then can go decide how they want to feel about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You've been through, print media, news media, journalism has gone through this really interesting roller coaster for the past couple of decades, right? Where it's the transition from print to online was its own thing, and social media has now become its own thing. But I think it's an interesting place for you to be now because social media is frankly out of control, right? We've got AI. You can make anything that anyone wants. So now I feel like a lot of us are shifting back to like, okay, I got to get this from like accredited journalism in order for me to believe it. So it's kind of, the pendulum has kind of swung back in your favor after a couple of decades of it kind of really being difficult for you guys.
Bless you for saying that.
Right. It does. I mean, that is,
And
what
that is truth. And there's so much out there, and it's and everybody and their brother who has a desktop computer or a laptop computer at this point, heck, even a cell phone,
oh yeah.
has become a publisher of some type of a blog or some type of a website. And these days, you can hear whatever you want to hear about whatever you want to hear it about. And I go back to the value of truth, what we were talking about earlier, that I'll be writing about this week is, there is value in that truth, and we are the holders,
Big time. Yeah.
of the local truth anyway, in a very small way, and we protect that very, very seriously, and we want to make sure that regardless of what else is going on, that we're taking care of informing and educating and protecting the folks of Lufkin. And that's our job. What happens outside the rest of the world, I can't do much
control
about,
that.
but
No.
we're going to make sure we provide the best paper and the best information available to the people of Lufkin.
And it's sad to have seen a lot of small communities in Texas have lost those papers. They've closed their doors. They've shut down. And it's even in the social media world that we live in now. It's like we still need this resource. Like yesterday, as we're recording this, our school board voted to close 2 schools and not adopt the curriculum. It's like, had it not been for news, like would I have to have been at that board meeting to know that was going to happen? Or
That's right.
somebody over coffee told me that it was happening. Like we have to have these resources.
And it's important that we continue to make sure that we do those things and don't fall prey, because it's easy sometimes to go, hey, you know what?
We can get a lot of
Let's
clicks.
dress this up a little. We get a lot of clicks on this,
yeah,
and no, that's not what we're here. We're not for clicks.
Right.
We're here for information. But social media. We use social media.
Mhm.
Our social media page, our Facebook page, it's got 50,000 followers for a paper our size and a community this size. I think that's
Big deal.
awesome, and we leverage that, and we use that. I think it's funny. I talked to some young people sometime, and I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and this young lady said, well, I don't really read newspapers. I said, well, where do you get your information? Well, I read articles on social media. Okay, where do you think those articles that you're reading from social media are coming from?
Yeah.
They're coming from newspapers. I mean, we're sharing our content online all the time through social media and other areas. So, it's sometimes people don't realize they're involved with the newspaper when they actually are.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and y'all do more than just give the news. You also help people advertise.
Yes.
So let's talk about ways that if people are looking to get information out about their business, how can they advertise with you?
We have more ways than ever now. Annie Long, who I think you've met.
Love Annie.
Annie's awesome. We brought her in. You believe she's been here a year now?
No, that was just thinking about her the other day and thought, I think it's been a year that she's been here.
She
And,
came here last
I mean,
February.
she came in like a gangbuster.
Yeah.
Just blowing and going.
And that's dynamite comes in little
Yeah.
packages. She's short in stature, small in stature, but man, she is a ball of fire. She has really our digital efforts, advertising digitally. We're backed by our parent company has a digital agency, but that digital agency is only as good as the people we have here on the boots on the ground going out. And she's done a fantastic job with upgrading us and getting us where we need to be, adding some systems, adding some structure that frankly we were missing because that structure wasn't really needed in the old way of doing things when we were just basically print media. And we had kind of fallen behind the times a little bit. And Annie's done a great job of coming in and introducing our customers to some of the digital things, the geofencing and some of the other things that we can do that really help your business. And I tell you, when we go out and we talk to these businesses, they're like, wow, you guys do that? I'm like, yeah. And so I say it all the time. I don't know how we became such a tightly held secret, but we are. And it, we need to make sure that we continue to spread that message. And Annie's doing a great job that, we can do so much more. There's so many more things we can do to promote your, and your business. And she's a big part of that.
That's great. That's great.
I love it. Well, this is one of my favorite conversations we get to have every time we get to talk with you. It's just such an interesting world that you guys operate in, and it's so relevant to our local lives, and we love that. Where, if you're a small business owner who's interested in doing advertising or anything like that, where would they reach out? How would they get in touch with you?
They can reach out through Facebook. They can reach out through our website. They can reach out through email. They can reach out through phone. Peggy Raines, Annie Long, Jennifer Newton. Sorry, Jennifer. Jennifer Newton. Those are our salespeople there. But frankly, if you see somebody that that works at the Lufkin Daily News and you're a local merchant and you're interested in doing business with us and having us promote your business, every one of us are sales folks.
Love it.
We have salespeople that do that for a living, but everybody in that building is a salesperson.
Yeah. Well,
Love it.
if you don't follow the Lufkin Daily News, you're missing out. So follow them on Facebook, sign up. I still love a print paper in my hand. Love that.
Me too.
The best. But thank you for what you do for our community, and congratulations on being Medium Business of the Year.
Well, thank you for awarding us that, and we're more than honored to show that little plaque or that little trophy it's sitting right in our front office.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Love it.
That's
We're
great.
Very proud of it.
That's great.
Well, Greg, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate having you on. And I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you want to watch the video version of this podcast, you can find that on the Chamber YouTube channel or on the Chamber's Facebook page. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.